Hi everyone and welcome to the first session of User Groups Live here in London. My name is Paul Gallagher. I've been at Anaplan for 2 years now, holding a couple of roles as both a training consultant and now as a business partner for customer success team. I'm joined today by Usman Zia and Joanna Emmett. So for everyone watching, could you tell us a little bit more about yourself first?
Thanks for your introduction, Paul. So my name's Usman. I'm working as a senior consultant at Lionpoint, where we specialise in transforming technology, strategy and operations for our alternative investment clients.
Hi Paul, hi everybody. My name is Joanna Emmett. I work for EDF Energy and I lead planning function in customer operations, and we use Anaplan for a variety of activity across the business.
Cool. So I guess it's not been long since I saw you last.
Yeah.
Last night, in fact. So we had the Modelers Forum.
Yes.
Now, the Modelers Forum's been going along for a lot longer than I've been there. You've been there since the start, almost?
Yeah.
How did you come across it?
So basically, there were a group of enthusiasts on the Anaplan community that really wanted to start a group where we could discuss Anaplan modelling, best practices, solutions, and a couple of us got together and we contacted Anaplan and said, look, we're interested in pursuing this, and you guys supported us, and now we have another great user group, which is the Modelers Forum.
Amazing. So what attracted you to it then? So you found it there. What's the attraction to now stay and keep going, driving it in fact?
Well, good question, Paul, and I would answer that by saying, the community Modelers Forum, it really is about people engaging and sharing their success stories as well as issues that they've been facing. So examples of that would be, yesterday we had a great presentation by Sneha from All3Media, where she discussed her transformation of her planning process, and it's things like that that really draw people who are interested in the platform to come and attend these events. Not only that, it is an off-the-clock social environment where we can be open and discuss any issues we're facing with the product, as well as sometimes there are presentations from the product team as well as the engineers, where they explain to us the things that they are currently working on, such as the new UX, and also in a prior session we actually got to have a first look at the mobile app. Yes. Before many other people did, which was really interesting.
Yeah, and also you talk about these presentations. We had a surprise guest last night as well, didn't we?
Yes, we did.
David Smith.
Yes.
I mean, who better to go to a modelers building forum than David himself? Yeah. And he gave a lot of good advice out, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. So part of David's discussions were around data hub best practices and how data hubs over time have evolved. Because as we go into doing more developments, we start to understand actually, how should we be making these data hubs, how should they be working, and what we originally thought isn't actually the case anymore, where we were talking about sparsity can actually be a good thing. Obviously with cloud space growing and the way the calculations work, sometimes sparsity is not something that we need to worry about so much.
Yeah. He also gave you an insight into the new Master Anaplanners exam, didn't he?
Yes, he did. So he was also discussing with us some of the questions that might come up and testing us to see if we still had that Master Anaplanner knowledge.
How did you get on?
I think we did pretty well, Paul.
Yeah, I think you did too.
Yeah.
So we're speaking about these events, but this is it's essentially a really small event in comparison to what we've just recently had.
Yeah.
We had the CPX event in London. Joanna, this was your second event, but first time presenting at CPX?
Yes, it was the first time I was presenting. The year before I went as a customer, so it's really good to see how Anaplan is adopted across a number of different businesses. Definitely a few tips I got from the first one in terms of our journey with Anaplan. And second year, this year, really excited to be asked to present, which we talked about efficiencies and really shift from Excel to Anaplan and how it can actually benefit across a number of activities and planning and forecasting, which is really, really exciting.
Yeah, so what was some of well, you've mentioned the topics of shifting from Excel to Anaplan. What would be one nugget of information you'd give today then?
Definitely ability to basically go above and beyond Excel. So you can do so much more in Anaplan.
Yeah.
You can connect all different parts of the business. From our perspective, and what we do, we do a lot of forecasting across a number of activities, very, very different, at different granularities, and shift to Anaplan really enable us to do it very accurately, and without having a lot of labor-intense processes in a place as we had before. So very big transformation for the business and definitely for my function alone.
Yeah, I mean, I guess these events are perfect for people with these nuggets of information to share wide, including, again, back to the Modelers Forum. You're quite an active participant in this forum. How do you, so you mentioned earlier on that it's an off-the-clock event.
Yeah.
So how do you manage being a consultant by day and then pretty much a geek by night?
Yeah. Because it's an Anaplan community event, and obviously I spend a lot of time making contributions to the Anaplan platform and the community platform, I just treat it as attending the community essentially. So, go with an open mind, be willing to share stories, help others with solutions, and discuss, where would we like the direction of the product to go. I've been seeing a lot of benefit from that.
Cool. And as of other attendees, from your knowledge, now we know that you're a master Anaplanner, but what people may not know is that you're also a community boss.
Yes.
So do you want to tell us a little bit more about this?
Yeah, so actually it was a bit of a surprise and shock to me because I got an email letting me know that I was part of this great program. And for me, it started off with, when my Anaplan journey began, I wanted to learn more about the product, become more comfortable dealing with answering questions and looking at solutions. Now, Anaplan, it's a platform where people share their problems. They look for information about how to do best practices, and then other people are able to share their answers and solutions. So, I began by just going on there, sharing my ideas about product developments, helping to answer people's questions. And I got this email, and now I'm part of this great program, which I would really like to thank the community team for coming up with, because they've also given us some great swag to wear.
I was about to mention that, the bag, I guess, is the big one.
Yeah.
You've got an Anaplan community boss bag.
Yeah.
That looks incredible.
I'd just like to thank the team for that. It's great to be part of such a great program and see, from my initial use of the platform, to see how far the community has come, and now there's a lot of users. And you can also see me wearing my bag on a regular occasion.
So how often do you log in and solve these problems or promote the community itself?
So typically I've signed up to a lot of the feeds, so I get email notifications, and what I look for is new solutions or questions that people are asking that have not been answered before. And sometimes I know the solution, I'm like, right, I know the solution to this question, I'm going to make time at lunchtime and go and answer this particular question. And then sometimes actually it can happen on a day where someone's asked a question, I've been thinking about the exact same thing, and then I'll think, actually, how can I solve this? I come up with a solution, post an answer, and then I'm able to use it in my day as well.
So it helps you too?
Yeah.
That's fantastic. So what would your advice be then to anyone watching regarding the community and the programs that you've mentioned?
Yeah, so what I would say is, obviously Anaplan is a great product and platform, and the Anaplan community is like no other. There's nothing out there in any other product or software where you can go and get essentially free knowledge, have the ability to share your problems with others in real time, sometimes get solutions to your problems. And the work that they've been doing is great, because before, obviously we had the learning platform side. Now they've combined that into the community, so all your information is there, free, ready for you to access.
Absolutely.
So what I would say is encourage people to go and use that.
Brilliant, thank you. We've got coming up next, in the next session actually, we've got Lee Romeo talking about the new user experience and the mobile. How long ago was it that we did a hackathon with this?
I think it was around July time when we first sort of approached some of the customers to show them the functionalities. And we had a session in London when you came in, and sort of much wider group of us at EDF with the finance teams involved as well, which is really, really useful.
So just for anyone watching, that hackathon pretty much consisted of going in, doing a quick tutorial, maybe about 2 hours worth. This is how you activate it, this is how you use it. And then we moved on, after a little bit of a break, we moved on to say, how do we lift and shift our current dashboards? And then, probably with a bit more imagination, how do we transform this and get the most out of the new UX? So I've got to ask, what was your immediate impression?
I was really impressed, and I'm not master and a planner, just to clarify. So from my perspective, as an end user and somebody who actually goes into Anaplan to get all the answers from quite a lot of complex data, it was very refreshing. Because personally, unless you work a lot with Anaplan, it's really difficult to know where to look for things when you've got quite complex models built. You know, a lot of models, they all talk to each other in a different way. A lot of selection boxes, which you need to know what to display to get the right answer. When I saw the sort of what you sort of showed us in terms of how you can use it, what you can do, and then we had a sort of hands-on session to do it, I was able actually to do it myself. So I was able to pick up the bits and pieces from the quite complex models and build it into something, which I thought, excellent. It just gives me all I need and gives me all the key information, key stats, key KPIs in one place. So I don't have to drill through all the pages and pages of models to try to link everything together.
Yeah, I do remember you saying, if you don't mind me embarrassing you now, that in the classic dashboard you were quite reluctant to build, whereas now you actually really enjoy the idea of going ahead and building your new boards, excuse me, and worksheets and all the rest. That's still true?
Yeah, it is, and I think from the modeler's perspective, when you build something complex, it's a lot of thinking about the logic, thinking about the data behind. Whether with the new user X, it's almost like that's my selling pitch. That's what I want to show. All the hard work that people put in to build something in Anaplan then come to fruition, and it looks really, really good as well. It just gives you this sort of quite a dynamic environment when we don't really have it from the classical dashboards. So it's much, much easier to do and easier to basically to get the buy-in across the business as well.
So it was a little bit more intuitive with it being a pull function rather than a push?
Definitely.
Yeah. I find that too as well, by the way. I remember also on the day that we had Karen, remember your team? She built a really impressive board, which was completely different to what you had originally. Is Karen still building?
She is. She's very, very involved in that build. We probably want to do everything really quickly, and we just need to slow down a bit. But she's probably, like I said, cherry on top of the cake. You know, she built a lot in Anaplan herself, and just be able to then show it in a more funky way and something that people really get excited about outside of the team that actually works with Anaplan is really encouraging.
So from there, so you've built all these boards. How do you intend to roll this out to the end users?
So we already started, and for me the main benefit was start building some prototypes across different user types. So we built different dashboards for bespoke business activities. So for demand forecasting, we've got one for operating cost forecast as well. And we basically build the prototypes, and then we reach out to the main activity owners and users to get a feedback. What else is missing that they would like to see from the modules that we build? Because ultimately, we build it for them to then make decisions on the back of. So it needs to be really in tune with their needs. So it's almost like recreating the user stories, but more for the dashboard front and the new UX. So the plan at the moment is that we've got all the stakeholders, all the people we want to talk to about what they need, and then we basically will start to redesign even more. Because at the moment we almost got a straw man for each of the parts of the Anaplan we build.
And whilst you're receiving that feedback, are you having to send feedback up the chain and back to the product team?
Yes, we do. So obviously the sort of the user feedback button in a new UX, very easy. I would say, I think every time if something doesn't work or we would like to see something different or more, you can just post it through there, which is great.
I know you've probably given feedback. So without being all too positive all the time, so what's some of the feedback you've given?
So some of the feedback I've given is a lot through the community around some of the classic functionality being brought into the new UX. Now, many people might not be aware, but actually the team is working very, very hard to bring on some of that old system functionality into the new UX. So initially when I came across the new UX, I'll be honest, I was a little bit resistant. Obviously, being a consultant, you obviously have to learn a lot about the product and platform. And I initially didn't understand completely the functionality, but when I took the time to learn really what the new UX was about, I was like, this is great. Anaplan is really investing in the UX side, because obviously we know Anaplan's core functionality is to be a calculation engine, so it's great to see the development of the new UX.
It is. And carrying on down that theme of development, also in the workshop and the hackathon, we shown a quick glimpse of the mobile.
Yeah.
Did that help amplify the experience of the new UX, and what benefits do you think you could see with it?
It definitely did. I think the benefit of the mobile for us is the speed of the decision making and the agile sort of working environment with the data that we really need to embed more in our business. So the ability to view everything on a mobile when a lot of senior management and myself are on the move all the time, it really brings it a bit more sort of easy for us to use and closer to our core activities as well.
Yeah, so it brings in that wider audience
Yes.
that may not have had visibility beforehand. Yeah, I couldn't agree more actually. But that's not the only workshop we've done, is it?
No, it's
You
not.
called me in recently to
Yeah.
talk about the Anaplan Way. What made you reach out and ask for that for your team?
So we had some changes in operationally, and obviously new people interacting with Anaplan as well. We've been using Anaplan for a couple of years now. However, obviously new people come in, they need to work with Anaplan, and it felt like it was the right time to share Anaplan Way, which is the project management, agile way of working, which can be applicable to anything. And it just felt really right for the team to get that buy-in and make sure they're on the journey with us as well, because a lot of the build hasn't been done with the involvement of those people, and it really helped. I would say a lot of people commented afterwards, gave us feedback that actually that was very, very useful and just helped to picture Anaplan and how things work and how we approached the rollout of the program, really.
Well, I think you touched on an interesting point there in terms of went ahead and built without looking for all the feedback. I guess, again, Osman, I guess you've seen this in the past.
Yeah.
And what are some of the key benefits you see from the Anaplan Way?
Like Joanna was saying, obviously the Anaplan Way is Anaplan's view on a project management office tool on how you do an implementation. And what's really great about it is they've really thought about all the steps and processes that you need to follow when doing an Anaplan implementation. So essentially it's the rule book for success in an Anaplan project. And if we take the time to follow those rules, you're gearing yourself up for success in an Anaplan project.
Absolutely. So I'm assuming going forward, you're going to follow all the steps perfectly.
I will.
So what was your key takeaway from the session?
Definitely a bit about the project management, but it's not necessarily so modelers, not necessarily certified project managers. So I think the structure of the team you really need to have around you in order to make the Anaplan rollout a success is quite critical for me now, thinking about this. I always sort of knew that, but I think now the wider team is aware. It's definitely great because it brings everybody on the same page and everybody works for the same goal, and it's much more structured in approach, and everybody understands their roles in a process as well.
Was there anything about that process that you thought could be challenging if you go into your next project?
Yeah, probably. Obviously, with Anaplan, it could be the scope of what you do could be quite big. So I think the involvement of people outside of your sort of modelers world definitely a challenge moving forward as well, because it's always the key just to get the right people involved at the front and also get the right feedback at the right time, so you don't make mistakes as you go through the deployment. And in a way, you can make the journey much more quick and smoother if you have all those roles really clearly defined and everybody knows how they're contributing.
Yeah, and how about yourself, Osman? What would you say is probably the more challenging part of the Anaplan Way, just to keep religious leads to?
Yeah, so what I would say is one of the key components in that methodology is obviously gathering your detailed requirements for the user stories. And that's one of the most challenging areas because you have to really think about your business process. That's why it's really important to take the time when planning a project to really understand what it is that you want and not just thinking about how did we do this in Excel, how did we do this in our legacy system, because actually now we're thinking about how are we going to do it in the future with Anaplan. And it can, and from my experience, I've seen a lot of the time that where we've missed detail in the user stories, this has come out in testing and then we thought actually there was a scenario that we never thought of, and that's why the Anaplan way is really beneficial in the success of Anaplan projects.
Yeah, I guess as well on their community, we see a lot of information coming from David Smith regarding plans.
Yes.
And that accompanied with the Anaplan way is a huge benefit.
Yes.
And probably actually stops us just diving in, building, which I guess geeks like us probably love just doing it first when we now need to actually rein ourselves in a bit and think about it.
Definitely.
Yeah. So what bit of advice then, as we come to the end of this session, would you give to anyone watching, whether it be on the new UX, the community, or the Anaplan way? What would your key takeaway be?
Yeah, my key takeaway would be obviously the Anaplan community is a free platform and it has all the information that you need to gear yourself up for success when using the Anaplan product. So I'd really focus on taking the time, looking at the content, joining the community and being a part of it, sharing your ideas. If you've got problems, share them with us because we're more than willing to take the time to help you.
That's a great answer, actually. Yeah. Joanna?
I think mine would be around a bit of Anaplan way, possibly, together with the new user X, about the fact that you create your user stories at the beginning to build something on a plan. You build in a classic way, and then you need to get the same engagement and sort of almost like another user story for your dashboard in a new UX, because it's a very different level of detail and probably different audience as well for both. And I think having done both sessions with you, Paul, it sort of made me realise that there's definitely a slightly different journey for my customers and people that I work with that I need to consider to make it really a good, strong tool and a successful one.
Oh, brilliant. Well, that's all the questions I have, but I think what we should do now is we should look over to our viewers and see if they've wrote in and asked us any questions. Hi everyone again. So we've got a couple of questions. Shouldn't be too taxing for you both. I'll start with Usman actually. So how do I become a community boss?
So the Community Boss program is geared around users of the community platform that really want to support it. So the more time you spend writing content, it could be best practices around how you do a particular modelling solution. It could be around actually now we're moving into Christmas and how do I do seasonal forecasting? So you could do a post about that. It could also be I've got new ideas on how I want the product to be developed. Suggesting those in the idea exchange is another method of doing that, and also answering people's problems and solutions. I think it's really about those that are willing to give the time to help the community and the platform grow. That's what being a community boss is really about. And if you're willing to do that, I'm sure you'll be awarded.
I hope so. And Joanna, so obviously it's a little bit more on the feedback element here. So how do your employees give feedback on the new UX, and are they active on the community?
They are active on the community, that's for sure, and obviously the sort of the feedback button on the new UX, there's definitely the direct feedback to your product team that can make changes as they are needed. But we gather the feedback across the teams as well. So internally, I've got a key person who looks after Anaplan and all the sort of structure of the models, and Karen, and she will manage the feedback log across different parts of the business. So whatever needs changing or needs to be done, or any new functionality that would probably benefit this area, would be gathered centrally, and then we'll share it with Anaplan.
Brilliant. Well, thank you very much. And I think that is all the questions we have. So I guess the next section coming up, which I hope you stick around for, is Lee Romeo, and he will be showing you all about the new UX and the mobile app. And I believe there's going to be a bit of an announcement. So that's exciting.
Exciting.
Yeah.